And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rafael Chassin, as known as El Capitán Rafucho. Ralf in the building. What's up, nation? And of course, we're about to start right now for this special episode of Semi Black Experience. No bullshit, no drama, no gimmicks, no filter, just Raiders, baby. And right now, it's about to get the beginning right now because there are some stuff that we're talking about during the off season, about for the defense, the importance of Raider Nation, because before we just got to move on through all these things right now. So right now we have a special guest right now because right now he's a great content creator. His views, his lives, and of course his point of view is gonna be so fantastic. So I have the privilege to introduce him. So this man has no filter at all, and he doesn't need like an introduction. So welcome to the show, the Mr. Raider Alice. So Raider Alice, how's it going right now? Welcome to the Summer Black Experience.
Hey man, thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate that, and yeah, I appreciate the kind words, man.
Yeah, there you go. So right now, let's get for the first topic right now. So I know it's gonna be so realistic, but here it comes right now. So the first one is gonna be Raiders defense are gonna shock the entire world this next season. Well, in my opinion, it's gonna be like the X factor because we're gonna address the elephant in the room. Because right now they're gonna build like a strong half of the 2023 season, in which the defense, which is ranked number 7 on the NFL, because they're returning like a many key piece to the defense. There's like a couple players to come through about this because they're gonna have the chance to play more prominent roles and take the defense to the next level. I mean, there's gonna be not only factors on the defense, but also they just got Tyree Wilson, Jacoby Bennett, also the Camille Richardson. Also, they just got Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers Johnson. I mean, they're going to be like an X factor for the defense on the Raiders. So for all those trees right now, I mean, the Camille Richardson is going to be like the secondary who could provide value because it's mentioned that Bennett had many opportunities to fetch the first team reps in the training camp because someone had to step up to the cornerback to aid Jack Jones, the pick number 6. And of course, Jacoby Bennett was like a roller coaster ride because they just lost a starting job after 4 weeks with injuries. But I think the struggling at the rookie season, they had to pick taking strides for the offseason. And then Tyree Wilson. They didn't have the smoothest rookie season at the former Texas Tech stand up for like 25 sacks. Through rookie season, let's don't forget the number 7 overall pick at the finish. They had the talent, the versatility, the pass rushes. So I gotta tell you for this one, the Raiders defense gonna make the shock the entire world because after the whole nightmare which has been through, along with Josh McDaniels and Deb Ziegler, and along with a new regime, which is Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce, I mean, the mentality and leadership can make it to the next level during the next season, 2024-2025 season with that defense. So how are they going to improve out for the defense and how are we going to shock the entire world with that defense?
Hey man, so yeah, basically how you touched on it, man. I'm really excited about this defense moving into 2024. Kind of like you mentioned, I mean, last season under Josh McDaniels, it was a rough start for the team in general. You know, not only on offense, but also the defense. I mean, the defense wasn't as good with Josh McDaniels compared to as soon as he left. As soon as Antonio Pierce got in there, it just felt like kind of like maybe he instilled a certain amount of confidence in that defense and like the secondary group. Also, Patrick Graham, you saw him kind of like his play calling and on the defensive side of the football. It started to get it seemed like he got a lot more creative. I mean, we started to see Max Crosby moving on the line of scrimmage, you know, running a bunch of different like defensive stunts. Not only him, I mean, Malcolm Kuntz. As soon as he left, he like basically bursted onto the scene. So this defense, I mean, I'm really excited about it. Now, when you talk about, do I think the Raiders defense could shock like the NFL? I mean, it's interesting to think about that just because, like I said, I have high expectations for the defense. I personally see it being a top 10 defense, but like if we're gonna go like for them to shock the NFL, I think you got to probably be a top 5 unit. But you know, I mean, there's definitely a defense that could probably do it, especially if Christian Wilkins can live up to the hype and the interior on the defense. And really, like the one spot on the defense, maybe that you could be a little bit hesitant on is the cornerback position. I don't know how you feel about the corners and the defensive backs we have currently, but I mean, I don't really think the position group is that bad. We'll see what we end up doing in the veteran like free agent market. Maybe we end up picking up a veteran, whether it be Stephon Gilmore, Dory Jackson, whoever it may be, but I'm really excited about this defense, and I think it really just starts with the defensive line because, of course, we got Max Crosby, we got Malcolm Kuntz, who had a fantastic, second half of the season last year. Obviously, you get Christian Wilkins, who's one of the best players at his position. And like you mentioned too, Tyree Wilson, he still has a lot of upside. He's a physically, he's just so gifted. And, we'll just see how he transitions into that second year. But you're talking about a lot of different pieces on the defensive line that if they can, work together, if they can start to gel together, it's just going to make our cornerbacks that much better. And, Camion Richardson is a guy who's super fast. We'll see how he ends up panning out. I mean, typically rookies at the cornerback spot, they tend to struggle a little bit, but, he's got the speed. I like that. Also, don't sleep on seventh round cornerback MJ Devonshire, kind of like a ball hawk type of defensive back. But me personally, I like the cornerback group that we have, especially if the defensive line can reach the potential that I think that they really can show out there. Like I said, if you got a defensive line that can just create havoc on opposing quarterbacks, it's going to make the jobs of the cornerbacks that much easier. And, maybe they can start to get more interceptions, and especially a guy like Devonshire and Richardson and Jack Jones. Now they can be a little bit more aggressive when they have to, and potentially create some turnovers for us. So, I mean, what do you think?
I mean, there's gonna be very impressive because we've been dealing like the years of ability on defense and the lack of many household names on the defensive roster. I mean, this one will be like very spectacularly on the last season, but the unit was still like technically one of the worst of the league. But this had to improve because there's no longer Josh McDaniels, there's no longer Bo Hardegree, they just still Patrick Graham. I mean, if the defense it just took like they didn't get much attention actually because after a 20 average starter from the defense that just finished 90 scoring, the defense hasn't gotten much attention because they just signed up with defensive lineman Christian Wilkins. They had to still garner like an additional national attention with that offense. I mean, they just say about that the defense are perfectly fine under the radar because they believe after the lack of attention will not change until the defense will play enough for this one. I mean, they just brought it just to the Saints Urgency Tower by the end of the season, and they're gonna make it happen. Wasn't that perfect? I don't think because there are some other things that can be using at the momentum into the offseason. I mean, those guys are better trust and believe they can. There's a huge part of it. I mean, and from seeing them doing, I mean, that defense couldn't make it a bigger because after what you see like an improvement, and I know that last season it's just like it being like a roller coaster. I mean, it was very productive because they just entered to aim it to have improved for the prior season because they're just near like at the bottom, the most statical categories. And we're gonna be determined to not let that happen again this season because I know the last season we just seemed like a little improvement, but the last time we just see at the Super Bowl was against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That never happens because after years of good picks and bad picks, I mean, they still have it improving. But I think this season, it could be like a great redemption, which you see like a brand new generation for the Raiders. I mean, things are going to change right now. It looks very nasty. It looks very scary. So there's a lot of great competition right now because there's no longer Chiefs defense. There's no longer Chargers. There's no longer Denver because if they're going to shock the entire world, we got to step up to the competition and let the defense eat alive for those competition for the rest of the teams, which is the Kansas City Chiefs, the Denver Broncos, Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, the competition is very tough, but I can see part of that level that we can see like a lot of things more.
Yeah, definitely a good point. I mean, kind of going into this season, I mean, me personally, I'm a lot more excited about the defensive side of the football. The offense is the side of the football that kind of worries me just a little bit more for our team, just because I mean there's still like a lot of variables, a lot of unknowns on the offense. I mean Luke Getsy. I mean, are we gonna see the Luke Getsy, uh, like more of like the success he had in Green Bay, or we're gonna see the type of offense that he had in Chicago, which really didn't work very good. Aiden O'Connell's a young player, so we still don't really know for sure what we have in him. Gardner Minshew, he's a nice player, but he's not a franchise quarterback. So, but
Yeah,
besides that, I mean, we do
exactly.
have a lot of we have a lot of nice weapons on the offensive side of the football, and also too, I mean, the offensive line still a question, right? Right tackle. I mean, who's gonna step into that role? Is it gonna be Thayer Mumford? I mean, I don't know, man. He hasn't proven it in his first two seasons. So really, I'm a lot more excited about the defensive side of the football. I think we have a lot more weapons, a lot more solidified players on the defense, and I think they're just going to continue to roll like they did at the end of the last season because I think the stat was under Antonio Pierce, they're the number one ranked defense when it comes to points per game. So that's really my state with the current team. Well, I guess what do you think about the offense?
I mean, they have already made some. That's on the way we stay right now because I know the X factor. It could be very aggressive. But what you mentioned about for Aiden O'Connor and Gardner Minshew, I mean, that could be really happening at all because we just see like at a civil wall of the quarterback. I know that Aiden O'Connor, he doesn't have the starter for Purdue, and then this first season, he kind of like very nervous, but he just brought like at a great moments because remember the time that Aiden O'Connor he became like the starter against Los Angeles Chargers, and they just made history, but also they just brought like some difficult moments because we just won against Kansas City Chiefs, but the defense wasn't very sure about how to get the push down and slowing down for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But I think that Connor Mitchell is very good, but he doesn't have like the caliber. I mean, look at Aiden O'Connell for this career. I mean, he has an amazing tools, and I know it's gonna be like the second year of rookie. I mean, Gardner Minshew has been working with the Indianapolis Colts, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is very veteran, but it's kind of like a very mobile, very versatile. But I think that opportunity, but some people say they're gonna start Minshew, they're gonna start Aiden O'Connor. But in my opinion, right now, I should take it to get started with Aiden O'Connor because I think it's gonna be like the right man for the right job to be the starter. Because after we just see like a lot of performance, even though that he became like the backup quarterback for Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean the defense, the footwork, they needs a lot of to improvement. But I think he just felt like he's ready to take like the next level.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a good point. And then, like DSR live on the chat, like he posted, he said, if you give Aiden O'Connell a good line, he should be fine. And look, I mean, I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I mean, I still think our offensive line is a big question mark, especially on that right side. I mean, that right tackle. If we're still having issues at the right tackle spot, and you're forcing Aiden O'Connell to use his legs, that's kind of where I'm a little bit, skeptical and scared of what could happen with this offense because that's really the biggest limitation I see so far with Aiden O'Connell is his lack of mobility. If he can improve on that, I mean, he has a very bright future because he has the arm talent. He can throw it deep. He's shown on tape that he can make really good tight window throws. So I definitely like that about Aiden O'Connell. And look, Gardner Minshew, I mean, I like him as a backup, but it's also a situation where if our offensive line isn't good, that it may be a scenario where Gardner Minshew may be a better fit for this offense just because he gives you more upside when it comes to using his
Exactly.
legs. Yeah. And I mean, and ideally too, I mean, you don't want your quarterback really having to use his legs, but it's a reality of the NFL. I mean, the offensive line is not going to hold up on every single snap. And, I think in today's NFL, you do have to adjust to, when pressure gets there, you're going to have to, I'm not saying, O'Connell has to be Lamar Jackson or anything like that, but you got to be able to use your feet to move inside the pocket, navigate, move up, roll out, or just something as simple as being able to avoid the pressure and just like throwing the ball out of bounds. you know.
Yeah, exactly. Also, we just got look at the comments for DCR Live Production to say if you give Aiden a line, he would just fine. He broke Drew Brees' completion record at Purdue. But also, he was third and four all time in yards with the game to over 50 yards. I mean, that's very true. Also, there's another comment of DCR Live Production to say right guard was more the question mark going into the draft. Why we drafted Jackson Powers Johnson, but that they more likely to put Alec left guard and put Parkham at right guard, with Munford at right tackle, or him play better on the right side of the college. I mean, that's look at the fair point right now because if you look at the defense and change about for the positions, I mean, that could be really happy because right now the defense are very good, but we need to step up into the game to have to tough enough to be like a stiff competition because right now the Kansas City Chiefs they had Patrick Mahomes, they had Travis Kelce, also Denver Broncos they just had Bonitz, Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert. I mean, there's like a lot of competition. We had to stay focused all around this, and we had to stay whatever it takes about this. So I know this is gonna be complicated, but it's gonna be like a fair enough to see how we can improve about this.
Right.
Mhm.
And then the and kind of like how DSR mentioned, me personally going into I thought right guard and right tackle was a big question mark for us. Because
Yeah,
I'm still not sold on Thayer Munford. I mean, honestly, Thayer Munford, I thought he looked a little bit better at left tackle than he did at right tackle. So, we did address it. We did draft Delmar Glaze, but I'm assuming he's not going to be ready to go. Year one. I mean, if you put him out there, he more than likely is going to struggle, which it's to be expected, right? You're going to get a later round offensive tackle, but I think the offensive line, at least the right side's still a little bit of a question mark. Now, maybe you can do some things to kind of combat that. Maybe you like you said, maybe you can move Dylan Parham to the right guard spot. He mentioned, I mean, Andre Pete getting moved to the left guard. I mean, me personally, I see him being a backup left guard at that. But we'll just ultimately see what ends up happening. Ideally, I would like to see Jackson Powers Johnson start out there, whether it be a left guard or right guard. I don't know what you think about that, but it's interesting to see where Jackson Powers Johnson, if he does, get starting reps, whether he goes on the right side or the left side, because you could make an argument that it might be better that he goes to the left side just because you got a veteran on that side and Colton Miller. Ideally that'd be nice to have a veteran player, a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle
yeah,
alongside with the rookie. Compared to if you have him with Thayer Mumford and he struggles, well, now you're gonna have a huge glaring need on that right side of the offensive line. But yeah,
yeah, I think it is very right. But also, there's like another comment to say mention arm just like Jimmy Garoppolo. Eddie has the arm strength, accuracy, and ball placement. The rookie season was the second-rated rookie behind Stroud, despite having ball high degree display color. I agree with that, but also he just have it over my more than 4,000 snaps at left guard. It was a Pro Bowl, but I guarantee you that the whole defense is gonna be like so realistic and they're gonna shock the entire world. And I'm not gonna lie, because after what I'm just saying, after all these years, the good picks, bad picks, I mean, after all of this one, we just drafted Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers Johnson, we just had Dylan Love, we just had Tommy Etchenberg, we just broke twice, but he didn't give a fuck because he's still playing as a baller. Because the strategy was always first defense, because Tom Telesco's strategy wasn't at drafting a quarterback, because the quarterback we just got it, which is Eden O'Connor or Gardner Minshew to put it out to the starter position. But the strategy, it definitely worked, because right now they only care about for the defense to how to build about the team to make it bigger, to go there for a classification of the playoffs and maybe for the championship.
yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next season. I mean, me personally, I think if the Raiders are going to have success, if they're going to get 10 plus wins, they make the playoffs. I think the defense is going to be the strong unit of our team. I think if we're gonna make a run, I think this defense is going to have to be a top 10 unit, which, I perfectly well, see them doing that. I think this defense has a lot of upside, and I definitely think, they can continue to build off of what they had last season, especially with the new acquisition of Christian Wilkins and everything like that. So, that's personally where I see this team. I think ideally, if you can get a dominant defense, hopefully, I mean, the offensive line can keep up. Ideally, hopefully we can be able to run the football effectively. And that's also another position group I didn't really talk about with offense with the uncertainty is the running back group. You can kind of question the just what we have in there, just because Amir White, very limited tape that he has. And then we got a rookie, but I think it's just going to be really up to how well the offensive line performs. Because if the offensive line can open up the holes up front, then I don't really care if it's Amir White or Josh Jacobs. They should be able to have success that way.
Yeah, that's exactly. And after we just talking about for how the defense is gonna make and shock the entire world. So right now, talking about for the players and the space. So right now we talk about for the second topic, which is the Raiders cast space drama. So I know it's gonna be very difficult at all, but they just had a made final decision of making some major veteran acquisition because after we just saw for June 1st, because they're gonna purchase are about for the mandatory in the camp. Also added a significant salary cap for the disposal because they just have like 34 million in cash space. That sets most of the NFL. Most of that space that it just came from the money the Raiders saved by releasing quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo destination of March. And also despite for the additional room, they don't have like a plan on yesterday to make it like a major better annexation because right now we still more holes to do. We had to fill it out. I mean, they're planning to deserve like the money for the season roster flexibility, limit for the stations for the players already for the roster rollover cap space for the next year, which is 2025. I mean, that's a lot of salary cap, but they just noted that only projected to be 24 million in cash space. So they may not learn risking out the number of signings right now, but heading off of the season, because after we just saw for the cash space, what about the cornerback? I mean, we'll start with the biggest needs. Did the team do anything about for the drafting position of free agency? And didn't have to address the position until for the 4th round of the draft, because they're coming in like being linked with some of the top free agents in cornerbacks. They still available because it's still like that they have. But I think that they cover the cornerbacks. I mean, they just had Jack Jones, but apparently like a starting quarterback spawns locked down. He just played very well for the last season after joining for the middle of the year. But it's now very clear it's going to be opposite sides. I mean, there's another one which is Bradson Fakeson. Is some of the first team reps that may do enough for the game, the starting cornerback spot corner. But I think that over the cash space, I mean, it should be like very enough to see how much is going to invest for the team, because I know after all the distinctions, I mean, they're going to be move on for anything. But I mean, it's that has come to the state to improve roster. I mean, they just wanted to report right now because they just wanted to collect dust instead improve roster this summer. I mean, I'm pretty sure this why, because I'm not very confident because they're gonna make it a plan or no plan doing it right now for the summer. I mean, it probably gonna be like a storm move, but it sounds like they're more realistic about for the roster more for this one, because that team doesn't have a like free agent away to being like a contender. So why they could be always spending with the handcuff or the down for the road? So I gotta tell you for this one, is this gonna be like a start move to keep it out for the cash space, or they're gonna move it on for like adding some veteran cornerback, because there's still another one which is Xavier Howard, there's Stephon Gilmore. I mean, they're gonna true him out for the cornerback, or they're gonna keep it off for cash space and no major moves.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the cap space, me personally, I don't think they're going to get super aggressive and get a whole bunch of free agents. Ideally, for me, I would like to see Tom Telesco just prioritize, re-signing players. There's a lot of good players that are going to be heading into the final year of their contract. You got defensive end Malcolm Coons, you got Nate Hobbs, you got Robert Spillane, you got Trayvon Merrick. And you also got a guy like Marcus. There's a lot of good players that I would like to see them get re-signed. Ideally, I would like for him to kind of prioritize those players. Primarily, I mean, Malcolm Kuntz, Nate Hobbs, who's one of the best players, yeah, at the slot cornerback position, and also, I mean, Robert Spillane. He really proved himself last season as the leader of that linebacker group. So that's ideally what I would like to see. And when it comes to addressing you mentioned the cornerback spot, I think that would be smart for us to bring in like a veteran cornerback. I mean, me personally, I'm not too high on like going after Xavier Howard or even Stephon Gilmore, who Stephon Gilmore, I've been a big fan of him throughout his whole career. Even like a couple of years ago, he was available too, and I wanted us to pick him up, but we didn't end up doing that. But ideally for me, I mean, I'm looking for a cornerback that can play at the slot cornerback position, that can play in the nickel because right now we just have Nate Hobbs. And if Nate Hobbs, gets injured, we need a solid, reliable backup slot cornerback. So that's really what I'm looking at right now when it comes to that additional cap space that we brought in.
Yes. I mean, that's true. I mean, after we just gonna be like at a stand to some players. I mean, after we just offer the cap space, I think that trades and extension, some veteran signing, it gonna be rollovers from the cap of the next year. But I think we're gonna need to extend Hobbs, Coons, Murray, Diallo, and others. That money won't go to waste. But I'm very sure it could be like a smart move because they just want to extend guys currently on the roster. So they wanted to call to that to like team does because it just makes sense that I will at least to get to the campus, see how the things are gonna be before adding anyone. So they're gonna keep like the money to roll over next year. It's not a bad move since we have May be on the market for the quarterback next year. That could be anything. So there's like the two things. First, there's a lot of players on the team who needs like an extension, and two, they need that money next year to sign a very good player. Maybe even like a quarterback. It could be like anything because that's totally fine with the cap space carry all over the next season, but which is awesome. Which is you gotta have plenty of people who we need to stand on the defensive side, but it's gonna be very smart. Somebody definitely is gonna be really extended. But they may have to play another good season because they work for the distinction. I mean, guys like Spillane and Kuz also gonna get very paid. I mean, they could have happened. But after the whole drama we just saw for Josh Jacobs, I mean, there's like a lot of difference. I mean, I just wanted to say like Josh Jacobs have a good one, good ratings. But some of the players, just like Devontae Adams and Max Crosby, they know how to stay involved with this one because they just represent because they just grow up as a Raiders fan. And now they just make like some big moves as a players. And I would love that. I love it because the essence of the team is make it some things clear, make it aggressive, making it like very smart and making it like very intelligent as it comes to the opponents. I mean, another thing about for the Josh Jacobs, I mean, it didn't have like the nerve to say how are they gonna do about it for the Raiders because I know they're gonna stand there as the position of the running back, but we just see like Demonte Evans growing up as a Raider fan, and then Max Crosby also too. I mean, those two players they have to make some great moves, but in the case of Josh Jacobs, it became like some realistic drama for the running back position. But I think it's very overrated out of the comfort like the position because it's like a underrated, overrated, but it kind of like very like that.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I agree, and I definitely agree with that that point you made. I mean, if you re-sign those players, you extend them. I mean, that's really smart money that you're investing in because that defense, like I said, I'm so excited about that defense. But everything can change if Malcolm Coons walks out the door next season, if Nate Hobbs is gone, if Spillane is gone. So you got to shore up the cornerstones of your defense. If you do that, I mean, I think this defense is in a really good spot. I mean, you got a lot of good young players as well that can be here for years to come.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna be very realistic right now because I still have a little to add a veteran quarterback. I mean, the secondary is very young. They could use like a veteran presence, but maybe it's gonna be waiting for someone. But I'm not gonna talk about for that Prescott because I know there's gonna be a event right now. But I'm I'm ironically afraid for this scenario, but when it comes to the cap space, I mean, there's someone that were signing for camp. They'll be signing, but I think it's gonna be more realistic because they have to have the good cap money available during the year if they're gonna need to sign or trade for someone to do it in juries. I mean, that could happen because I know they're getting borrowed for the space, but teams will get allotted to the same like the two players. I mean, those costs have to keep like the player's original cap hit, and when it comes to the portion, I mean, it's very equal to the current year's amount. And I mean, it remind me like that cap spaces. I mean, they're no longer about this one because there's someone had to take a chance. You gotta take it. If someone's getting it cheaper, there you go.
Right. Yeah.
Also, there's like a comment right now that they say there was no need to resign Jacob. Samir White had his half of his yards in 4 games, and he had more yards after the contact. I mean, that's true. That's true. And they say, I agree, Malcolm Coombs, along with Trevor Morrick and Nate Haas, need to be resigned. I mean, that's the whole point right now because there's no need to resign Josh Jacobs because the whole drama was like, oh my God, this is not going to be ending right now. It's not going to be ending because from the perspective right now, I mean, this would look at the princess is very similar to each other. He probably plays it entire right now. But if they just wanted to see like over the edge because it's just making it like over 8 million, just very luxury. It's gonna be like a defensive drive into this year, but I think that in the case of Samir White, I mean that at the first season, which you see like very good, but it still got flashes. It still got flashes about it because there's like a more than the hype to go celebrate for the breakup season because I'm very interested about the hearing like another perspectives because he has very talent. Opportunity to be like at a top NFL boy for the potentially great volume with the being pro line, but I think that it's gonna be overblown. But why are they gonna be scared about it? Because we're in the league with most teams use of that running back committee. There's like an only handful for the true running backs for the goes for the league. I mean, I think it's gonna be higher than the most. Not because it's gonna be like a special talent, but I think it's gonna be like continue to run the brakes on him. I mean, he has a very 55% snap. It's just a really interesting job. I mean, they see Conte as leader back and say, I mean, my biggest concern about it is hell it doesn't get like the workload. I mean, that means everything. I mean, I think Seuss is gonna be so great with the majority of the work, but they just stranded about the guy because he straight up breaks the tackle, but he constantly fight forward. But it doesn't seem like they're getting a lot or at least getting a chance. As far as going for the next season, I would rely for this get started because in the package when they're gonna miss full piece, I mean, it's gonna be very enough because it just brought everything. Because after the whole that they're gonna to believe it, the company had the substitute, which is it's gonna be like the answer. But I think the Samir White is gonna be good, but he needs to like improve, and he still got a lot of flashes. But they got a lot of catch at a decent amount of pass, and probably is gonna finish like as a starter.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree with you. I think ultimately it was the right move to move on from Josh Jacobs. I mean, I love Josh Jacobs. You know, he had fantastic seasons and fantastic games with us. I mean, shit, man. I still remember going to that Seattle game in that 2022
Mhm.
season where he he went off, and shout out to him. But at the end of the day, that's just like the way the NFL really is, man. It's not really a wise decision to pay your running back unless they're like a Christian McCaffrey type, right? A guy that can do multiple different things. Is a legit threat catching the football as well. And we'll just ultimately see what happens with Zamir White. I mean, I do, he did perform pretty well last season. Now he's just gonna have to show that he can do that for a full 17 game season. But ultimately, man, when it comes to the running back group, I mean, I'm always just more. I put a lot more, importance on building the offensive line first because if you got a good O line that can open up the holes for a running back, then it's just essentially plug and play at the running back spot. You can continue to get production out of running backs that way. So we'll see when it comes from Zamir White. I mean, he showed a lot to me in that that Christmas matchup on the road versus Kansas City. He had a
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, he carried our offense that game, and he was the one that got those big first downs to seal the victory. So we'll see what ends up happening, but I am excited to see Zeus next season.
Yeah, definitely. I'm more excited about that. And also, there is like the comment right now. They say right now, betting odds having Samir White possibly getting like the top running back in the NFL. But Luke Getzey had the number 2 rushing attack in Chicago last year. I mean, that's very fair. Also, the long run in Seattle was due to Derek Carr a little bit out of the play to run the cost of what Derek saw for defensive formation. Also, that's true right now because these I had to go for this one because after we see that, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity because they're betting odds to be possibly like the running back in the NFL. It's not gonna be easy at all, but let's see what they got right now. And of course, we just got like the last topic right now. So first, we just talking about how the defense is gonna shock the entire world, and then the cast space drama between Tom Telesco, Samir White, and Josh Jacobs. Also, we just got like the last topic, which is talking about the importance of the Raider Nation, because right now, over we just see for the last generations, we just see like a lot of people this support for the Raider Nation because we just see like in tailgates, we just see like in videos, there's like a lot of fans representing for the Raider Nation, no matter who the color skin, no matter who represent your country, we all belong here because there's like great things to describe like a fan for the Raider Nation. It's all about culture, tradition, respect, loyalty, and of course, you have to be sure to represent the silver and black experience and of course the nation. Because I've been seeing like a lot of different stuff in social media that we are just like the laughing stock, but we are not. We're just like the misfits. I mean, there's like another things we had to go for because after we just see like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s to 2000, 2010, I mean, Raiders have became like one of the best teams in the whole world. And that's because we have fans all around the world, United Kingdom, United States, Canada, also in Australia, Mexico. I mean, they're everywhere because they just want to be like, because it's not only about for one player. It's not about for one player. It's all about the shield. It's all about the organization. And I think that Raider Nation, it became like one of the most solid fan base that we just saw for the whole world. And we just see like they revive from another great memories that we just saw as a kid, as a grown up, and now right now the Raider Nation is untouchable because if you look at the see for the fan base of Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers, they're not. I mean, they're not because Raider Nation, it's all about wearing black. Because right now I'm using the T-shirt for Bo Jackson because Bo Jackson knows. Because you had to learn about for the history of an organization. Because if you don't learn, if you don't listen about for the history of an organization, then what the heck are you doing? Because it's all about learning about for the history or the organization, and of course, you had the mentality, the leadership to be like one of the most exciting fans because we just see like a lot of die-hard fans represented for the team, and I think that Raider Nation it's what they really connect with the people.
Yeah, man, really, really good way to put it. Basically, like you kind of touched on it, man. The Raider Nation, it's culture, man. I love seeing. You go to a Raiders game and you see all different types of people wearing the silver and black, man. You see, white people. You see, Mexicans like myself. You see, all different types of races and just the culture that the Raiders have. And I think one of the biggest things with the Raiders and the Raider Nation is, I think it's really one of those things that kind of sets us apart from every single other fan base in the NFL, every single other franchise. Because look, I mean, we're not, we don't have the most Super Bowl rings and stuff like that. We haven't won one in quite some time, but when it comes to like being passionate, I mean, I don't think there's any other fan base that is as passionate for this team, for this franchise, than the Raiders, man. I mean, sure, maybe you can make the argument that like maybe Cowboys fans have more fans, but like half those fans, like, you can tell they're not really like that invested and that passionate. about their team. But the silver and black is quite the opposite. And like you said, man, there's people from all around the globe that support the Raiders. Every now and then I get subscribers commenting that they're from the UK, that they're from Mexico, and it's a beautiful thing to experience. And like I said, I think it's really one of those things that just sets us apart from any other franchise, and it's really something that's just it can't be replicated.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that I live in the East Coast in the United States, which is exactly on Charlotte, North Carolina, because I moved out in the United States since 2018, and I didn't know about the football. But since then, I mean, in 2021, I became like a content creator. I started to like listening and understanding about for the content creators. I learned about for the history and the organization. I mean, it's not that easy, but I give it like a several things I have to go because I was writing into a pencil and a paper to say what's the story about it. I mean, what can I bring like the energy? I mean, as a content creator, to provide for the information about for the Raiders. I mean, this show, Silver and Black Experience, it's all about for the Raiders. And of course for the most like an incredible stuff we have in college football, the NFL, because we're just saying like it about this. We are the Raiders against the world. There's 31 teams right now for the NFL. There's only one nation that represents us, and that's the Raider Nation. Because I know since like a content creator, I just started to make like a live streams talking about for the Raiders since Derek Carr, Josh McDaniels, also for the new generation for the Raiders. I mean, it became like a great blessing, but also it gave me like a great boost to improve myself as a content creator and give it like to the fullest. And I know that I'm being close to 1K subscribers, so that it doesn't shame me at all because I had to do something better, I had to do something bigger, and providing content for the Raiders. I mean, this is like the greatest idea. Even on that this year, I probably go to some games at Allergym Stadium, but I'll never be ashamed because I'm very proud to represent the Raider Nation. As a Venezuelan citizen living in the United States, I'm not alone because the Raider Nation stands up, and this is my team that I represent, and there's no shame at all, there's no filter, because it is the Raider Nation. They never can stop us. Who's gonna stop us? There's nobody.
Yeah, man. I mean, you speaking 100% facts, man. I mean, like I said, I haven't, because yeah, I don't just watch football. I also watch, like soccer, which is a big, global sport. Other, you watch basketball and stuff. I like the Lakers and stuff like that. I see different fan bases throughout the entire world, and like I said, there's something about the Raiders that is just so much different than any other fan base. And like I said, it really just comes down to that passion that people have for this this the shield. And like you said, it goes down to tradition as well. I mean, it's something that like I said, it cannot be replicated. I'm curious too. I mean, you said you're from Venezuela. I mean, what made you become a Raiders fan?
I mean, it's not very difficult because how did interesting about it? Because I learned a lot of things of the history of organization. Because after that, I just saw like several games. Because when it comes to football season, when it comes to Sundays, it's always Black Sunday. Because whatever Raiders are gonna play it, I mean, there's no excuses at all. Because they're gonna feel like the aggression. Also, they had to feel the violence, and of course, the football in its prime time. Whether it comes to afternoon or evening, I mean, what makes very interesting about for the Raiders fans? It's all about for the Shield, not for like just like only one player that I just like it. It's all about for the organization. And what I just see like at another players who made like a trailblaze, just like for example, there's like Jim Otto, there's like Madden, there's Al Davis, also there's Charles Woodson, also there's Marcus Allen, there's Kane Stable. I mean, those players have made like a trailblazer, and they never stop because they just made like a lot of history, and that's one of the teams that I'm very interested for, because I know that I just saw from like another videos that some Raiders are represented from another country, and I was just like, wow, this is one of those teams that represent the entire world, because some of these like the teams, they don't have like a great representation, because I know that Raider Nation, they has a lot of fans in the world, even though that it became like very special. I mean, we just have like the greatest fan base in the whole world. So there's nothing about can stop us. I mean, whatever it comes to win or lose, I represent Raider Nation till I die, and that's the motto right now.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it, man. That's just how it is, man. Because yo, I've been watching the Raiders since what, the 2011 season, and I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen any real success, right? I haven't seen a playoff victory. It's been a lot more bad seasons and it's been good seasons, but the end of the day, like I would love to see this team hoist that Lombardi Trophy, but at the end of the day, that's not what it's all about when it comes to being a Raiders fan. It's much more than just the wins and results on and off the football field. It's really just like a mindset and a mentality. So, that's what made me fall in love with this team.
Hmm. Yeah, and I know that, well, the team is gonna be so realistic right now, because I have a feeling that we have a lot of to address right now. But this year is gonna be like the redemption, because after we just see like a lot of improvements, after we just saw a lot of kind of different nightmares that we just experiment about that one. I mean, this year it could be like so realistic, and I know we have a lot of different competition along with Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers, Denver Broncos. I mean, we have like a lot of experiment guys. We have a great all-star defense. I mean, what can we stop right now? So there's nothing could happen, and for that season, I would love to see like a great improvement. We're gonna get bigger, bolder. I see with respect to like 12 wins and 5 losses, because you know why? There's like a bias series between the Chargers, also for the Chiefs, but the only losses about for not only for the Dubai series, but also I just see like another losses against Tampa Bay Buccaneers or Baltimore Ravens against Lamar Jackson, because it's kind of like a very difficult. Also, it's the Cincinnati Bengals, but there's no excuses to put it out to work. And I know there's some teams that have been like a lack of the confidence, lack of the communication, but we just have like a great communication to say face to face and to say, hey, it's go time. Let's go back to work. And there's no excuses. There's no gimmicks. Get your ass up and let's back to work. And right now, I gotta tell you for this one, this has been like an amazing special episode of Simon Black Experience with amazing special guest, Raider Alice. So, Raider Alice, before we're wrapping up, so where can we find you on the social media to see your live streams, your videos, and of course, your point of view about for the Raiders Nation?
So yeah, man. I mean, just on YouTube, just Raider Alex, and then on Instagram, I'm Raider Alex official. Yeah, just make sure to. I mean, if anybody hasn't done so, I mean, make sure to subscribe. Also, if you're on Rafa's show, make sure to subscribe as well. I saw, I seen that you're getting pretty close to 1K, or I don't know if you or
Yeah,
did you just hit it, or you?
yeah,
So
almost close to 1K
you're
subscribers
yeah, you're,
because
you're you're close, man. So yeah, keep it up, man. I know getting to those first 1,000 is really difficult as a content creator. So if you can get through that kind of grind, man, sky's the limit. So I wish nothing for the best for your podcast, man.
thank you very much. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Raider Alice or a special guest. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Rafael Chasing, as known as El Capitán Rafucho, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all around for the social media, because I'm almost there for 1K subscribers. Because right now I have 929 subscribers, so 17 to go. So there's no excuses at all. So hit the like button, also share and subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. So right now, it is time to say goodbye. Have a great Sunday. And of course, it's been like another episode of Simon Black Experience with a special guest, with Alice. So I gotta tell her for this one. Salute to everybody else. Have a good night. And just like all Davis say, just win, baby. And there's only one nation on the NFL, and that's the Raiders Nation. So have a good night, folks. And there you go. Let's go.